Hello and welcome to the Street Crime UK YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Today we look at an £8 million cocaine trafficking plot which delivered massive quantities of Class A drugs around England and Wales, was masterminded by a crime boss from a house in Windle. As the criminals behind the operation were put behind bars, detectives revealed the organising criminal gang sourced wholesale high purity cocaine on Merseyside. They then transported it across the country. But it was from a house at Bleak Hill Road, Windle in St Helens, where they used military-style encrypted phones which make messages invisible to investigating detectives to operate their enterprise. Running the OCG from the St Helens house was crime boss James Kelly, 36. According to Judge Dennis Watson QC, who handed lengthy prison sentences to the gang members, Mr Kelly was the boss who called the shots. However, on June 25, 2019, Mr Kelly's enterprise crumbled when he was arrested by officers at his home address in St Helens. Officers found £20,000 in cash in a carrier bag by his front door and 2 encrypted phones he used to communicate with his crime group, which were selling the drugs on his behalf. Officers from the Northwest Regional Organised Crime Unit say it was Mr Kelly who plotted the nationwide wholesale distribution of multi-kilo quantities of cocaine on a daily basis. The encrypted phones were used to communicate with his brother Stephen Kelly and Dean Woods. James Kelly arranged for Paul Speedy and Mr Woods and then Liam Hart to deliver cocaine to Bradford, Bolton, Newcastle, London, Nottingham, Scunthorpe, Grimsby, Sheffield and Wrexham. The investigation, which was led by NWROCU and supported by Merseyside Police, discovered that between December 2018 and June 2019, more than 100 drug runs were made across the UK by the crime gang. It is estimated more than 200 kilograms of cocaine with a street value of more than £8 million was sold during the 7-month period. At Liverpool Crown Court, James Kelly and 5 other men from across Merseyside were sentenced to a combined total of 116 years. Temporary Detective Superintendent Ian Hussey from the NWROCU investigations team said, "This crime group were distributing multi-kilos of cocaine on a daily basis across the UK to Bradford, Bolton, Newcastle, London and Nottingham, Scunthorpe, Sheffield and Wrexham." James Kelly ran the drugs operation from his home address in St Helens, using members of his OCG to transport and sell the drugs on his behalf. He also enlisted his brother's help to launder the money they made from selling the drugs. This is an extremely dangerous set of individuals who have links to firearms, 2 of which were seized, along with ammunition at an address in Old Swan, Liverpool, linked to Mark Dermott. I hope the significant prison sentences these individuals have received will serve to reassure communities in Merseyside of how seriously we take drug dealing and the use of firearms which have no place on our streets in the Northwest. At Liverpool Crown Court, Mr Kelly, 36, along with 5 of his associates, including his brother Stephen, were jailed for more than 116 years. James Kelly was sentenced to 28.5 years for conspiracy to supply Class A drugs. Stephen Kelly, 42, of Stowmine Road, Liverpool, was jailed for 26 years for conspiracy to supply the Class A drug. He was also responsible for the laundering of proceeds of the drugs conspiracy. Paul Speedy, 57, of Cumberland Close, Kirkdale, was sentenced to 13 years for conspiracy to supply Class A drugs. Paul Speedy was a trusted courier for the gang who drove to more than 66 locations across the country. He drove James Kelly to customer meetings in Bolton, London getaway services, Grimsby and Bradford. Mark Dermott, 32, of Conway Street, Kirkdale, was sentenced to 26 years for conspiracy to supply Class A drugs and possession of a Section 1 firearms ammunition. He supplied the gang with Class A drugs, which they later sold. Following a search at his home, officers discovered a full industrial drug press in his flat. Dean Woods, 37, of Waiter Street, Liverpool, was jailed for 15 years for conspiracy to supply Class A drugs. He was also a trusted courier for the gang, making more than 30 trips across the UK. Liam Hart, 36, of Medbourne Court, Kirkby, was sentenced to 7 years and 6 months for conspiracy to supply Class A drugs. He was also a trusted courier who was arrested in possession of 4 kilograms of cocaine on the M6 on May 25, 2019 during one of his drug runs. So what are your thoughts about this swindle-based drug boss and its leader James Kelly, and how he went on to source and distribute Class A drugs across the UK? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, stay safe.